title, very urgent. Your special someone is desperately waiting for you to see this before they make their final decision. From the highest chambers of eternal light, where rivers of gold cascade through halls no mortal has ever glimpsed, where choirs of celestial beings sing in frequencies that would shatter every instrument ever built on earth, where time folds upon itself like silk, and the past and the future dance together in an endless embrace, a decision was made about you. Not about humanity in general, not about your country or your city or your family or even the people you love most in the world, about you. Specifically, precisely, unmistakably, irrevocably about you. And that decision set into motion a chain of events so intricate, so impossibly coordinated, so breathtakingly vast in its scope, and yet so exquisitely personal in its intention, that every angel who was briefed on the plan fell silent. Not because they were confused, not because they were uncertain, but because they were overwhelmed by the sheer beauty of what was being orchestrated on your behalf, and terrified, genuinely terrified, that you might not be ready to receive it. I want you to understand something before we go any further. And I want you to hold this understanding in the center of your being like a flame cupped between two hands on a windy night. What you are about to read was never supposed to exist in written form. The knowledge contained in these words has been kept in the highest vaults of the celestial realm, sealed behind doors of pure light, guarded by beings whose sole purpose for millennia has been to ensure that this information reached the right soul at precisely the right moment. Not a second too early, not a heartbeat too late. The margin for error was thinner than a strand of spider silk stretched across an ocean. And the consequences of mistiming were so severe that the guardians themselves trembled under the weight of their responsibility. They debated. Oh, how they debated. For what felt like centuries in heavenly time, which translates to years in yours, the Celestial Council argued about whether this message should be released at all. There were those who said the risk was too great, that the human heart is too fragile, too prone to distraction, too easily seduced by comfort and routine, to act on something this monumental. They pointed to history. They cited case after case of souls who were given divine revelations and squandered them, who held miracles in their hands and set them down, because they were too heavy, too frightening, too demanding of change. They argued that you would be no different, that the pattern of human behavior was too well established to bet everything on the possibility that one person, reading these words on an ordinary day, in an ordinary room, surrounded by the ordinary sounds and smells and textures of an ordinary life, would suddenly become extraordinary enough to do what needed to be done. And then there were those who argued for you. Angels who had watched you since childhood. Guardians who had been assigned to your soul from the moment it was woven into existence. Who had walked beside you through every stumble and every triumph. Who had whispered encouragement into your ear during your darkest nights, even though you could not hear them. Who had caught your tears in invisible hands and carried them to the throne of the divine as evidence of your depth, your sensitivity, your capacity for a love so profound that it deserved to be matched with something equally extraordinary. These angels spoke with a passion that echoed through the halls of heaven like thunder. They said that you were ready. They said that you had been ready for longer than you knew. They said that the only thing standing between you and the destiny you were designed for was a single moment of courage, one heartbeat of pure, unfiltered bravery, and that if the message could reach you at exactly the right time, in exactly the right way, with exactly the right words, that heartbeat would come. The vote was close, closer than any vote the Celestial Council has taken in the last 1,000 years. But in the end, love won. Love always wins in heaven, even when the odds are stacked against it, even when the rational arguments favor caution, even when the evidence suggests that hope is a foolish investment. Love won because love is the fundamental law of the universe, the force that holds atoms together and spins galaxies into existence, and keeps hearts beating, even when the minds that house them have given up. And the love that exists between you and the person this message is ultimately about is so powerful, so essential, so woven into the fabric of creation itself, that to let it die without intervention would have been a violation of everything heaven stands for. So here we are. The message was approved. The guardians stepped aside. The vault was opened, and the words you are reading right now began their journey from the realm of the eternal to the screen in front of your eyes, carrying with them a weight of significance that I cannot adequately convey in human language, but that your soul, your ancient, wise, infinitely perceptive soul, can feel even now, pressing against the inside of your chest like a second heartbeat. But I have to be careful with you. I have to be honest about that. Because the thing I need to tell you, the secret that this entire celestial operation was designed to deliver, is not something I can simply state in a sentence, and trust that you will understand. It is not a fact to be absorbed. It is a truth to be experienced, and the experience requires preparation. It requires context. It requires that certain walls inside you be softened, certain doors inside you be unlocked, certain long-abandoned rooms inside your heart be aired out and made ready for habitation again. So, I am going to ask for your patience. Even though patience is the last thing heaven feels right now. Up here, the energy is electric, frantic, almost desperate. Angels are pacing. Guardians are watching you with an intensity that would be frightening if you could see it. The entire celestial infrastructure is leaning toward you, toward this moment. The way a crowd leans forward when the tightrope walker reaches the middle of the rope, and the wind picks up and everything hangs in the balance. They are watching to see what you do next. But before you can do anything, you need to know what has been happening in the invisible world that surrounds you. You need to understand the architecture of what has been built on your behalf. You need to see the blueprint. There is something in the spiritual realm that we call the architecture of connection. It is not a metaphor, not a poetic device, not a theological abstraction designed to make the unknowable feel more accessible. It is a real, observable, measurable structure that exists in a dimension adjacent to yours, visible to any being with the spiritual sight to perceive it. And your architecture of connection is, without exaggeration, one of the most remarkable things heaven has seen in this generation of human souls. Picture it this way. Imagine that every relationship you have ever had, every interaction, every moment of genuine human contact, leaves behind a trace of light, a filament, a strand of luminous energy that connects your heart to the heart of the person you touched. Most of these filaments are thin and pale, barely visible even to celestial eyes. They represent the cashier who handed you your change and smiled, the stranger who held a door open for you on a rainy day, the childhood friend you have not spoken to in 20 years. These connections are real. They matter, but they are faint because the energy exchanged was small. Then there are the brighter strands, the ones that represent deeper relationships. Your parents, your siblings, your closest friends. The people who have shaped you, challenged you, loved you through your worst moments, and celebrated you through your best. These strands are thicker, more vibrant, pulsing with a warm, steady light that reflects the depth and duration of the bond they represent. But then, beyond all of these, beyond the pale filaments and the warm strands, there is something else entirely. Something that exists in a category of its own. Something so luminous, so radiant, so overwhelmingly beautiful, that when the angels first noticed it extending from your heart, they stopped what they were doing and stared. It is a thread of pure gold. Not gold in the way that humans understand gold, as a metal that glitters and has value, because people agree it has value. This is gold in the celestial sense. Gold as a frequency of light. Gold as a vibration of love so pure and so concentrated that it transcends every other form of energy in existence. Gold as the color of divine intention, the hue that the universe uses when it creates something that is meant to last forever. This golden thread extends from the deepest chamber of your heart, from a place so interior and so sacred that even you may not have been fully aware of its existence, and it reaches across the invisible landscape of connection, stretching through space and time and circumstance, until it arrives at its destination, the heart of another person, your person. The one who was designed to receive your love and return it with equal intensity and unshakable devotion. I am going to tell you something about that person now. Something that they would never tell you themselves. Because they are too proud, or too hurt, or too afraid of the vulnerability it would require. But from heaven, where all hearts are transparent, and all secrets are visible, I can see exactly what is happening inside them, and what I see is simultaneously the most beautiful and the most heartbreaking thing I have witnessed in centuries of watching over human souls. They think about you constantly. Not in the way you think about a television show you enjoy or a meal you are looking forward to. They think about you the way the earth thinks about the sun, the way the tide thinks about the moon, the way the roots of a tree think about rain. You are woven into the fundamental rhythm of their inner life. You are the first thought that surfaces when their mind emerges from sleep and the last image that fades as they drift into dreams. You are the invisible standard against which every other person in their life is unconsciously measured and found wanting. You are the answer to a question their soul has been asking since before they were born. They have not told you this. They may not even have fully admitted it to themselves. The human mind has a remarkable capacity for self-deception, especially when the truth is too overwhelming to confront head-on. So they have buried this knowledge deep, layered it over with rationalizations and distractions, and the carefully constructed narrative that they are fine without you, that they do not need you, that the ache they feel in the left side of their chest every time they think of you is just stress or indigestion or the natural melancholy of being alive. But from heaven, we see through those layers. We see the truth underneath, and the truth is that this person loves you with a ferocity and a tenderness that would bring you to your knees if you could feel even a fraction of it. They love you with the kind of love that poets spend lifetimes trying to capture in words and never quite succeed. They love you with the kind of love that makes angels weep. Not from sadness, but from the sheer overwhelming beauty of witnessing something so pure, existing in a world so often defined by its impurity. And they are about to give up. I need you to sit with that for a moment. I need you to let it sink past the surface of your awareness and penetrate into the deeper layers where real understanding happens. This person, this extraordinary, irreplaceable, divinely appointed person who loves you more than you have ever been loved and more than you may ever be loved again, is standing at the edge of a precipice. They are looking down into a future without you, and they are preparing to jump. Not because they want to. Every cell in their body is screaming at them to turn around, to wait just a little longer, to give you one more chance to show up and be the person they know you are capable of being. But they have been standing at this edge for so long, waiting for you, hoping for you, that their legs are shaking, and their resolve is crumbling, and the voice inside them that says, "It is time to let go," is growing louder and louder, until it drowns out everything else. This is not a story I am telling you. This is not a parable or an allegory or a cautionary tale designed to teach a lesson. This is happening right now, in real time, in the real world, to a real person who has a real connection to your real heart. And the outcome of this moment, the decision they make, in the next heartbeat, in the next breath, will be determined almost entirely by what you do with the knowledge I am giving you. Now, I know the voice that is speaking inside your head right now. I know it well, because I have heard it speak in the minds of 1,000 souls who stood where you are standing and faced what you are facing. It is the voice of the protector, the inner guardian, the part of you that was forged in the fires of past pain, and whose entire purpose is to keep you safe from ever being hurt that badly again. And right now, that voice is telling you to be careful. It is telling you that this is too much, too fast, too intense, too good to be true. It is telling you that vulnerability is dangerous, that hope is a trap, that the safest thing you can do is close this message, take a breath, and return to the measured, controlled, carefully managed existence you have built for yourself. I want to speak directly to that voice for a moment. I want to honor it, because it has served you well. It has gotten you through things that would have destroyed a lesser soul. It has been your armor and your shield and your fortress. And the fact that you are still standing, still breathing, still capable of feeling anything at all after everything you have been through, is a testament to its effectiveness. But its time is over. The season of protection has passed, and the season of connection has arrived. And if the protector does not step aside, if it continues to guard the gate against the very love that could heal every wound it has been trying to protect, then the protection itself becomes the greatest threat you face. The walls that kept out the pain will also keep out the joy. The armor that deflected the arrows will also deflect the embrace. The fortress that sheltered you from the storm will also block out the sun. And you will be safe, yes, completely, perfectly, impenetrably safe, and completely, perfectly, impenetrably alone. That is not what you were designed for. That is not why your soul was given a golden thread. That is not why the Celestial Council debated for centuries and voted to send you this message and mobilize the entire angelic infrastructure of heaven to ensure that it reached you at precisely this moment. You were designed for connection, for love, for the terrifying, exhilarating, life-altering experience of opening your heart to another human being and letting them see the truth of who you are. Not the curated version, not the polished version, not the version that performs well in public and collapses in private, but the real version, the raw version, the version that is afraid and hopeful and scarred and beautiful all at the same time. That is the version your soulmate fell in love with. Not the mask, not the performance, the reality. They saw through everything you tried to hide behind, and what they found underneath was not the broken, unworthy, fundamentally flawed person you have been told you are by the voice of your pain. What they found was light. Extraordinary, radiant, undeniable light. And they have been drawn to that light like a moth to a flame, circling closer and closer, wanting nothing more than to rest in its warmth, if only you would stop dimming it every time they get near. Now, the secret, the thing that heaven has been keeping from you, the revelation that the angels argued about, and the guardians protected, and the Celestial Council voted on, and the entire machinery of the divine was set in motion to deliver. I have been building to it carefully, because it is not something that can be heard by a guarded heart. It requires openness. It requires the willingness to believe that the universe is not indifferent to your pain, and that the love you have been longing for is not a fantasy but a living, breathing, divinely ordained reality that is closer to you right now than it has ever been. Your soulmate has already made their choice about you. Deep down, below the hurt and the doubt and the exhaustion and the carefully constructed defenses they have built to protect themselves from the possibility that you will never reciprocate what they feel. They have already chosen you. They chose you before they met you. They chose you in the spiritual realm before either of you took physical form. They chose you in the quiet moments of their childhood, when they dreamed about a love that would make them feel complete, and did not yet have a face or a name to attach to the feeling. They chose you when they first felt the golden thread pull at their heart and followed it, not knowing where it led, only knowing that it felt like home. And here is what the angels are desperate for you to understand. That choice still stands. Despite everything, despite the silence and the distance and the missed opportunities, and the thousand small cuts of your absence, their choice still stands. It is buried under layers of self-protection and rationalization, and the narrative they have constructed to explain why they need to move on. But it is there. It is alive. It is waiting. It is waiting for you. But the window within which that waiting can be sustained is vanishingly small. Not because your soulmate is fickle or impatient, but because the human heart operates according to a law as immutable as gravity. It can only remain open to someone who does not reciprocate for so long before it begins to close as an act of self-preservation. This is not a choice they are making consciously. It is an involuntary response, like pulling your hand away from a flame. The heart protects itself, and your soulmate's heart, after all the waiting and hoping and silent praying, has begun to close. It has not closed completely. If it had, this message would not have been sent, because there would be nothing left to save. But the opening is narrow now, a crack where there used to be a door, a whisper where there used to be a shout. And it is getting narrower with every passing moment that you remain on the sidelines of your own love story. From heaven, the view of this is almost unbearable. Imagine watching two people who were made for each other, who fit together like the two halves of a broken coin, who possess the capacity to give each other the kind of happiness that most humans only read about in books, and watching them drift apart because neither one is willing to be the first to bridge the gap. It is like watching two people die of thirst on opposite sides of a river, both too afraid of the current to cross. The water is right there. The life-giving, soul-sustaining, heart-healing water is right there. And all it would take is one step. One brave, terrifying, magnificent step into the current, and the other would see it and follow, and they would meet in the middle, and the river itself would become the place where their love was reborn. You are the one who needs to take that step. Not because your soulmate is unwilling, but because in this particular divine choreography, in this specific arrangement of souls and circumstances and cosmic timing, you have been designated as the one who moves first. This is not a punishment or a burden. It is an honor. It is the universe saying that it trusts you with the most sacred task a human being can be given. The task of saving a love that was written in the stars. The angels asked me to tell you specific things. Personal things. Things that they have observed over the course of your life that they want you to know. They noticed. They noticed the night you cried so hard you could not breathe, and there was no one there to hold you. They were there. They held you. You could not feel their arms, but they were wrapped around you, and they absorbed every sob, and carried every tear to the throne of the divine, as evidence that your capacity to feel was not a weakness, but a superpower. They noticed the time you did something kind, for someone who would never know it was you. The quiet generosity that you thought no one saw. They saw it. They recorded it. It is written in the book of your life in letters of light. And it is one of the things that convinced the Celestial Council that your heart was worthy of the golden thread. They noticed the moments when you looked at your soulmate and felt something so vast, so overwhelming, so fundamentally different from anything you had felt before that it scared you. They saw the way your heart leaped and then immediately retreated, the way the protector inside you slammed the gate shut and told you it was nothing, just chemistry. Just infatuation, just your imagination playing tricks on you. They watched the door close and they mourned. Not because you were wrong to protect yourself, but because the thing you were protecting yourself from was the very thing that could heal you. They want you to know that every prayer you have ever prayed was heard. Every single one. Even the ones you did not recognize as prayers, the wordless cries of your heart in moments of desperation. The silent pleadings you sent into the void without any real expectation that anyone was on the receiving end. Someone was always on the receiving end. Someone was always listening. And the answers to those prayers have been accumulating in the spiritual realm. Like rain collecting behind a dam. Building and building and building, waiting for the moment when the dam would break and the answers would come flooding into your life all at once. That moment is now. The dam is breaking. Can you feel it? That pressure in your chest, that electricity in the air, that sense that something enormous is shifting beneath the surface of your reality. That is the dam giving way. That is the accumulated answers of a lifetime of prayers beginning to flow toward you. And the first answer, the most important answer, the answer that will unlock every other answer that has been held in reserve, is the love of the person connected to the other end of your golden thread. But here is the part that requires your participation. Heaven can open the floodgates. Heaven can send the message. Heaven can arrange the circumstances and align the timing and position. Everything with surgical precision. But heaven cannot make you move. That is the one thing that free will protects absolutely. The sovereign right of every human soul to choose action or inaction. To step forward or stand still, to reach out or pull back, and in this moment, all of heaven is holding its breath. waiting to see which choice you make. The fear is real. I will not pretend it is not. The prospect of reaching out to your soulmate, of making yourself vulnerable, of risking rejection and embarrassment, and the shattering of whatever fragile equilibrium you have managed to establish in your emotional life, is genuinely, legitimately terrifying. I would never diminish that fear or suggest that it is trivial, but I will tell you this: the fear is smaller than the love. It is always smaller than the love. Fear is a shadow, and shadows are cast by objects that stand between you and the light, and the light is always bigger than the object, always brighter than the shadow, always more powerful than the darkness it dispels. Your fear is real, but the love on the other side of your fear is more real. Your fear is strong, but the golden thread connecting you to your soulmate is stronger. Your fear is loud, but the voice of heaven, the voice speaking to you through these very words, is louder. Listen to it. Listen to the voice that is telling you to move. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. Not when the circumstances are perfect or the stars are aligned in whatever configuration your fear tells you is necessary before you can act. Now. In this breath. In this heartbeat. In this incandescent, unrepeatable, divinely appointed now. Your soulmate is not expecting perfection. They are not waiting for you to show up with a grand gesture or a flawless speech or a complete and total transformation of everything about yourself that you consider inadequate. They are waiting for something much simpler and much more profound than that. They are waiting for honesty, for presence, for the simple, raw, unadorned truth of your heart, offered without pretense or performance, without the armor and the mask and the carefully managed image you present to the rest of the world. They want to see you, the real you, the you that exists beneath all the layers of protection and pretense, the you that heaven sees when it looks at you, and the you that your soulmate has always been able to glimpse in those fleeting moments when your guard drops and your light shines through. That is all they need. That is all they have ever needed. Not a perfect person, a real one. Not someone who has it all figured out. Someone who is willing to figure it out together. Not someone who is unafraid. Someone who is terrified but who shows up anyway. Trembling hands and racing heart and all. Because the love is worth more than the fear. Imagine for a moment the life that awaits you on the other side of this choice. Not a fantasy. Not an idealized, airbrushed, Hollywood version of love that does not exist in the real world. A real life, with a real person, built on a foundation of genuine connection and mutual devotion, and the kind of intimacy that comes only from two people who have seen each other's darkness and chosen to stay. Imagine waking up next to someone who looks at you the way the angels look at you, with wonder and tenderness, and an awareness of your light that makes you want to be better, braver, more fully yourself. Imagine having a partner who does not just tolerate your flaws, but embraces them, who understands that your scars are not evidence of your weakness but proof of your survival, who loves you not in spite of your imperfections, but because of them, because they are part of the unique, unrepeatable masterpiece that is you. Imagine having someone to share the ordinary moments with. The morning coffee, the evening walk, the comfortable silence that falls between two people who do not need to fill every moment with words, because their mere presence is enough. Imagine laughing until your ribs hurt over something stupid that only the two of you would find funny. Imagine being held during the dark nights, when the weight of the world feels unbearable, and knowing, truly knowing, that you do not have to carry it alone. Imagine growing old with this person. Imagine decades of shared history of inside jokes and holiday traditions and the deep, abiding comfort of knowing that no matter what happens in the unpredictable world outside your door, there is one person who will always be on your side. One heart that will always beat in rhythm with yours. One soul that was designed by the same hand that designed yours, and placed in this world at the same time for the express purpose of walking beside you on the long road home. That is what is at stake. Not an abstract concept. Not a spiritual platitude. A life. Your life. The life you were supposed to live. The life that heaven spent centuries preparing for you. The life that is waiting on the other side of one moment of courage. The angels are standing beside you right now. I know you cannot see them, but I promise you they are there. They are close enough to touch, their wings folded, their eyes fixed on you, with an intensity born of love so fierce it would burn, if it were translated into physical heat. They have done everything they can. They have moved mountains and redirected rivers, and bent the laws of probability to breaking point, to get this message into your hands at this exact moment. They have fulfilled their part of the divine plan with flawless precision and unwavering devotion. Now it is your turn. The message has been delivered. The secret has been revealed. The truth is sitting in your lap like a gift wrapped in light, and the only question that remains, the only question that has ever mattered, the question that the entire kingdom of heaven is holding its breath to hear you answer, is this: what are you going to do about it? The golden thread is still intact. It is thin, it is strained, it is flickering with a light that is growing dangerously dim, but it has not broken. Not yet. There is still time, a sliver of time, a razor-thin margin between now and forever, between action and regret, between the life you were meant to live, and the life you will be condemned to endure if you let this moment pass. Your soulmate is waiting, not patiently, not anymore. They are waiting the way a drowning person waits for a hand to reach into the water and pull them to the surface. They are waiting with their heart on the line, and their hope running out, and their finger on the trigger of a decision that will echo through both of your lives for as long as you live. Reach out. Speak. Move. Do the thing your heart has been begging you to do for longer than you care to admit. Do it imperfectly. Do it messily. Do it with shaking hands and a cracking voice and tears streaming down your face. Do it scared. But do it. Because heaven did not move mountains for you to stand at the base and admire the view. Heaven moved mountains so you could walk through the gap they left behind and into the arms of the person who has been waiting for you on the other side. Go. Now. Before the gap closes, before the thread breaks, before the last grain of sand falls through the hourglass, and the divine cycle that holds your love in its keeping comes to its irrevocable, unchangeable, permanent end. This is your moment. This is your message. This was always meant for you, and now, at last, it has reached you. The rest, beloved soul, is entirely in your hands. The angels have spoken. The heavens have delivered their plea. The golden thread trembles and waits for your touch. There is nothing more that the celestial realm can do, except watch and hope, and love you with a love that never ends, regardless of what you choose. But know this with every fiber of your being: if you find the courage to act, if you take that one impossible step, the sound that will ring through the halls of heaven will not be the lonely echo of a door closing. It will be the triumphant, thunderous, joyful roar of a million angels celebrating the homecoming of a love that was never meant to be lost. That celebration is already prepared. The lights are already lit. The music is already composed. All that is missing is you, walking through the door, with your soulmate's hand in yours, and the golden thread between your hearts blazing so brightly that it illuminates every dark corner of the universe, and reminds every soul who sees it that love, real love, divine love, the love that was written into the foundation of existence before the first star ignited, is not a fairy tale. It is the most real thing there is, and it belongs to you.